This is Providence Television International, the game changer.
Good day and welcome to the maiden edition of Issues in the News. My name is Ugbebo Ikekwa. I'll just give you a little brief as regards issues in the news. It's self-explanatory. Trending issues in the news. We'll have guests that will come and discuss such trending issues. And with me in the studio this morning, since it has to do with the news, I have a veteran journalist, also media executive entrepreneur, Dr. Emmanuel Egariwa. You're welcome to the studio, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, you are right. This is the maiden edition. It's just to set the scene, really, because subsequently we'll be inviting people into the studio to talk about issues in the news. And you have a lot of things trending these days arising from our news broadcast. And so they will be coming either from the academia or from business environment. So we'll invite them to come and discuss. But today we are setting the scene, really. So it's back to you.
Thank you. And so there has been this trending issue. We've actually had elections in this country. And for every time we've had elections in this country, there's always this rancor. If it is not Togri, it has to do with acid. If it is not acid, it has to do with militarizing the whole thing. But something happened in Benin City just some few days ago. Tipper Drivers Association, Edo State Tipper Drivers Association, they had an election that was quite seamless, setting a kind of example of how elections should be. We'll be focusing on that today. How possible is it to have free and fair elections in Nigeria? Coming from the Ohede branch Tipper Drivers Association election that we just witnessed some few days ago.
Yes, I was enthralled, really. I was enthralled. We covered that event, and it made quite some impact. And I was particularly enthralled because it was a seamless exercise. There was no militarization. The security agencies were not there. There was no ballot box snatching. There was an atmosphere of friendship. You know, there was no arson, there was no fighting, no shooting of guns. And I was wondering, could this have been from the Tipper Drivers Association? But yes, it was. And I was particularly enthralled because a lot of people did not expect that kind of thing could happen from that set of people. But it happened. So they've set a template for us.
Okay.
Yes, in this country, and that's the way elections should go in this country. At the end of the day, in fact, in the case of the Tipper Drivers election, the winners shook hands with the losers.
Yes.
There was an atmosphere of friendship, and there was no rancor. It was totally hitch-free, even though some people may have had some misgivings. But at the end of the exercise, I was particularly pleased that if this could come from them, it means that the larger society could also learn from them. I mean, they've set a pattern, and which also means that it doesn't matter whether it's Tipper drivers or whoever. That is the way elections should go in this country. There was no alteration, no falsification of the results, and it was an open secret ballot system, I think, which was also practiced in the larger society, for example. And it's the same process. They also had what you call the registration, you call it?
Accreditation.
Accreditation.
Yes, they did. Yes, exactly. They had accreditation.
They had accreditation, which was normal. But what do we find in this country today? You go through the entire process, and at the end, the process itself is shortchanged. People are not sure of the results and all sorts of things. And even the combatants, the political actors, became enemies. In the recent past, we've seen that across the country, they became enemies. Whereas this was supposed to be a very friendly exercise.
Exactly.
Devoid of rancor, devoid of all kinds of trouble. So I must give them kudos.
Okay.
I must give them kudos, the Tipper Drivers Association. I spoke with the state chairman. He said they didn't bargain for any kind of trouble, because I'm sure that they have some very disciplined members, and they must have been tutored as to how to go about the election process. Yes.
All right, so let us come down to these tenets. Some people have this segregatory tendency, tipper drivers, and we have maybe compared to barristers and all that. We've seen a situation, I'm not talking about the barristers or anything, but we've seen a situation where organized, in quotes, organizations have rancor when it comes to elections. But the tipper drivers that you would have expected would have been armed and the whole place would be rowdy. It was peaceful.
Yeah, that's the lesson. That's the lesson I'm just talking about. In fact, I think that's what we're talking about when we say there was a template for us to follow, for example. And I'm very sure that they did not just plan it. It came naturally to them. Maybe they have been very watchful of what goes on outside and said, no, we can't go that way. Let us organize in such a way that it will be rancor-free. Okay. And they succeeded in doing that. Yes. A lot of people have expected, oh, no, it has to do with tipper drivers, so there's going to be mayhem.
Exactly.
There will be gunshots, and all sort of things. But nothing of the sort. Nothing. The people, I watched the clips. The people were so disciplined. They were orderly. Yes. And at the end of the day, what even baffled me was that the losers congratulated the winners. Exactly. And that's what I've always said. Even before the last election here in Edo State, I said, look, there's no reason why at the end of every election, the new chairman should not congratulate the winner. We have not seen that in this country. And that is a shame, really. It's a big shame, because we need to set the pace. I mean, who will say that, oh, no, the larger society, there you have enlightened people, professors doing things and all that. But it's the same professors who are shortchanging the system. That's the tragedy of it. Okay? So it's a pity that things are going awry in the larger environment. But the tipper drivers have shown the way. They have shown the template that that's the way to go. And I think that they must be commended very, very copiously. They must be commended for carrying out an exercise that was seamless. Yes, in spite of the negative things that people must have been thinking about them.
Exactly.
Yes. I'm sure they disappointed a lot of people.
And so it brings us to this fact. Do you know that presently, during that election, the presence of the military, the presence of security forces, there was nothing like that?
Yes, that's what I've always been saying. Before the election in Edo State, I said, if you remember, that I pray for demilitarization of electoral process. I mean, for instance, we watch elections outside this country. On a working day, people hold elections and they go back to their office. You don't find police officers, you won't find military people on the street. No, that's the way elections should be conducted. When elections are conducted in a way that is free and credible, you don't have any cause to go to the courts. No. The court should be isolated from this.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, you are giving them a lot of burden, which is uncalled for, by the way. And, well, in this country, we have had professional bodies that ended up throwing bottles and all sorts of things.
Exactly.
Yes. But these are people that you won't put your thumb on, that they will do it appropriately. But they have disappointed a lot of people, enlightened people in the society, that the tipper drivers could do this. What of other people who are enlightened, in quotes?
And it brings us to my next question. What has actually happened to those enlightened people that every time there is an election, the next thing that you hear is go to court?
Because it's the bastardization of the process. For instance, I've always held on to the belief that there's no reason going to the court if the election is seamless.
Okay.
I mean, for instance, the tipper drivers, you won't find them going to court. No. Because it was free, it was fair, it was credible. It was very transparent. We all saw it. It was very transparent. Now, when the election process is transparent, what's the point going to court? No. We must allow the judiciary to do something else. Okay? You don't overburden them with election infractions, and things like that. But, of course, people who go to court, they have their right to do that. It's their fundamental right. I'm not saying that people should not go to court. But the electoral process should be such a way that, at the end of the day, there should be smiles on the face of everybody. In fact, even the losers should be the first to congratulate the winners. Okay. Oh, yes, you've done well. We congratulate you. We'll wait for another time. Okay. That has not happened in this country. No. In the case of Jonathan, I still remember, even before the thing ended, he congratulated Buhari. All right, you remember?
Yes,
but that's the way it should be. All right. People said he threw in the towel. No, that's not exactly what happened. I think he just wanted to maintain some decorum, as it were. And I hope we'll follow the same template of the tipper drivers. They've come in the news now because a lot of people have been talking to us. In fact, somebody even said, oh, why must it be? Oh, no, we talked about tipper drivers. And I told the fellow, I said, look, tipper driver, they have shown us the way. And there was no more response to that. They've shown us the way. The political actors we have in this country, they have not been able to do what the tipper drivers did. Okay? So that is the standard. They set the standard for us. We must follow them.
All right. Yes. Those who were actually the umpire of that election, they were actually members of the board of trustees of the tipper drivers. It brings us to this question. Should the INEC chairman be voted and not selected?
I've said this before. There is no reason why the INEC chairman should be picked by the president.
Okay.
No. And there have been a lot of editorials about this, really. What can happen, what can give us a better result is to have eminent Nigerians. And we have them in this country. Bring all of them into a pool, all right? Into a pool, retired justices of the Supreme Court, or chief justices, yes, of the Supreme Court, eminent academics, people who have served this country without blemish in different professions, and they are there. They may be aged, but they are there. Okay. So you bring them into a pool, and they now select. We can give them names. They will pick, and then these names will be approved by the National Assembly. That's what should be done, even though it's not going to be elective as such. But at least the process must be seen to be credible.
Okay.
Yes, it's not just because the danger really is that he who pays the piper takes the tune. If you pick somebody to be the chairman of INEC, and he's your pick, it's your pick, they will dance to your tune.
Okay.
There's no doubt about that. They will dance to your tune. All right. Look at what happened in Rivers.
Yeah.
The court said, oh, no, security forces, no, they should stay out of it and all of that. So they were vulnerable. But the governor said, yes, we will have our own security forces. And the thing went on. Without regular police, without regular military people. The thing went on. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. Now, back to your question directly. Yes, the INEC chairman should be picked through that process. Okay. So we know at the end of the day that it has gone through the crucible. And at the end, he has been milled. So he has no reason to dance to the tune of one particular person. Yes, because he's holding the position in trust for 200 million Nigerians. Yes, he's holding the position in trust. Okay? And INEC chairman must be chosen. I would prefer that they are chosen from retired chief justices of this country, or people who have served without blemish, and we know them. They are in this country. They are in their very great numbers.
Okay.
People who have served in this country, who have no question marks around them. And they must be apolitical, by the way.
Okay.
They must be totally isolated from partisan politics. And they are there. They are there. If we keep our eyes open, we'll get them. We'll see them. Okay?
All right. The Edo State Tipper Drivers Association, there were 6 contestants for the position of chairmanship. Are you in support of a multi-party system where you have about over 60 parties in Nigeria?
Well, the law permits that, but let's talk about idealism.
Okay.
Yes, ideally, why must a country like Nigeria have more than maybe 4 or 5 political parties? Because what you realize is that you have their names on the ballot.
Yeah.
Some of them score 2,000. Some don't even score to 1,000 from the lot. What I will advise is they share common ideology with some of these big parties. Why don't you collapse yourselves into them so that we have about 3 or 4 at most parties in this country? At the time was when General Babangida was here, we had 2 parties. For instance, a little to the right, a little to the left. That's what he was saying. That was the sing-song at the time. But yet, for the sake of equity and balance, we can have maybe as many as 4 or 5. Then the job for INEC would be less Herculean, obviously, because you're talking about just 4 or 5 parties. And in any case, some of the parties you are talking about, some of them, they have no offices around the 36 states. They establish an office today, tomorrow they close it up, all because they want money from somewhere. Yes, that's what they do.
Okay.
Yes.
So from your own point of view, as the lower the number of parties, the better for the Nigerian polity?
The better.
Okay.
The better, for instance. I mean, why? The question really is, why must we have about maybe 20 parties or more? When at the end of the day, you've seen the results yourself. Some of them 4,000 across the country or less. So why must such a party continue to be in existence? What they should do is to collapse.
Okay.
Their structures and everything into the larger parties. And in any case, most of them have the same ideology. And if they don't have the same, very similar, really, in terms of principles and things like that. So that's my take. And I don't believe that you have a whole multitude of parties just for the fun of it. Yes, it's a democratization process, but democracy does not mean that, the whole host must come on board. No, it doesn't quite make sense.
All right. If you're just joining in, the program is Issues in the News. We're talking with the veteran journalist, Dr. Emmanuel Egariba. Just before we go, so many people do not also know that you have your tenets going towards that of the legal profession.
Well, that's assumed into this. I mean, there's I'm writing a book now, really, the media and law.
Okay.
Yes, I'm putting a publication together. I mean, they are interrelated. And in any case, once you're a media practitioner or a media entrepreneur, like I am, you must watch out for those pitfalls, libel and things like that. I mean, if you're not grounded in legalism, you cannot be sure of what you're doing. So it's very important. In fact, I think that every media practitioner, I'm not even talking of just every journalist, every media practitioner should be grounded in the basics of law, so you don't go into those pitfalls. It's very, very important for the practice and for the niceties that go with the profession. It is better, for instance, for every practitioner to be fairly grounded. I'm not saying well-grounded, to be fairly grounded in those niceties.
Okay, and so this brings me to my next and final question. Do you think that there should be legal reforms as regards electoral laws?
People have said it. I mean, it's just that, again, look at it. We are not following the tenets of the guidelines. Because, I mean, look at the issue of the technical facilities that we have. A lot of legal practitioners, very senior legal practitioners, have said that, look, if we must make it compulsory, you must upload right from the polling center into the server. That way, nothing should go wrong. I mean, there must be no room for error. Okay, this thing should be ingrained properly into the statutes, into the law. But when you're talking about legal reforms, there are so many areas you can look at. Okay, I mean, for instance, let's be serious. You can look at the issue of malpractices.
Okay.
For example, electoral malpractices. I'm of the opinion that special courts should be set up for electoral malpractices, because a lot of people do things these days and they get away with them. Yes. Ballot box snatching, arson, and that sort of thing. These are all malpractices. But they get away with them. Now, if you get people once in a while and they perpetrate all these things, what are the people who send them? They should be culpable. Okay? Culpability should not just rest with the people who did one or two of these things. What of the people who send them? Because usually they are sent to carry out these exercises. So that's one part. And there are so many others, really, that we can look at. And the issue of, people say we are not advanced to that point yet, but I disagree. Because you see, if you upload and everybody sees the result, why must it be that people cannot announce certain results that they see? I mean, these things are based on electronics. It's science-based, all right? Look at the U.S. election. You see it whether it's in Arizona or Minnesota or New York or California. As the results are coming, you see them, right? Why must we depend solely on INEC as the author and finisher of our fate? So I want to disagree completely. But we must build on the template of our equipment. Although President Jonathan was right, he said a few weeks ago that, yes, we may have the best equipment, but what are the operators?
Okay.
Yes, what are the operators? Ad hoc staff, I've often said this, ad hoc staff must not be picked from National Youth Service and things like that. They must be well trained. They must be INEC staff, properly made staff of INEC. And you train them over a period. It is when the election is near, that will begin to have adult staff and train them in a haphazard manner. That's not right. You must have staff that you train over time. Yes.
Well, I'm getting the signals from the MCRO that we are actually eating into the time of another program. And so, a parting shot for the chairman, especially the organizer. He's the main person who organized the Tipper Drivers Association's recent election. I believe you should have one or two things to say as regards his performance.
Oh yes, wonderful gentleman. I wish I could see the picture all over again. But I think he did well. I know I had a conversation with him and I lauded him for a job well done. And I wish that other associations really should be able to follow suit. Because they all have, once in a while, they have what we call election, all right? But they have set the standard, and I hope, even professional bodies, I don't want to mention names, professional bodies in this country, they have ended up in court, and things like that. I remember one clearly sometime a few years ago. They ended up throwing bottles at each other, tearing their clothes, carrying chairs to destroy one or two things. That's not the way. The way is amity, friendship, good coordination, discipline of the people who are going to vote. We saw that clearly in the case of the Tipper drivers. All of them, they were very well behaved. Yes, they were very well behaved. I saw it. Yes, I saw it, and I was very impressed about their attitude. These things, well, come to think of it, they're attitudinal, really. You must build up attitudes to move you away from those infractions.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, sir, for coming to the studio. On this note, I want to say thank you for being there for us. If you are not there, Providence Television International would not be here. But then, keeping, or rather, living up to our slogan, the game changer, we would always have very, very entertaining programs for you, such as this. Same time next week, issues in the news will come up.